Far away from Earth, among countless stars, a desperate message was sent into the dark. The Aurelian Concord, a peaceful and gentle alliance of alien species, was crying for help. Their cities were burning, their fleets destroyed, and their people terrified. They had spent centuries living in harmony, believing that peace was the highest truth of the universe. But peace had not saved them. A powerful enemy known as the Voth Dominion had come from the far edges of the galaxy. The Voth believed that strength was the only law. They conquered worlds one by one, taking what they wanted and destroying what resisted. When the Aurelians tried to talk, the Voth answered only with silence and destruction. So the Aurelians did the only thing they could. They sent out an SOS, a universal signal for help. It was a simple message of distress, sent into the endless black of space. They didn't expect anyone to answer. The signal traveled for weeks, crossing light years of emptiness until one quiet night, it reached a small blue planet orbiting an average yellow star. A planet called Earth. The signal arrived at a massive listening station in orbit where human scientists studied the stars. At first they thought it was interference. Then the signal repeated, once, twice, 3 times. It was real, and it wasn't human. Inside the control room, the air filled with excitement and tension. For centuries, humans had wondered if they were alone. And now the proof was right there, glowing on the screens. But the message wasn't a greeting. It was a cry for help. The words were broken, translated through layers of static. Still, the meaning was clear. To any who can hear us, our worlds are falling. We cannot defend ourselves, please. Help us. At first, no one spoke. The scientists stared at each other, unsure what to do. They forwarded the message to Earth Space Command. Within hours, the world's leaders met through a secure network. Some said, we should stay out of it. This is not our war. Others argued, we cannot ignore a plea for help. If they need saving, we should try. Finally, a voice broke through the debate. It belonged to Admiral Sarah Imani, commander of the United Nations Space Fleet. She had seen what humanity could do, how far they had come from their early days of conflict and struggle. She knew what kind of people they had become. If someone calls for help, she said calmly, we answer. That's what makes us human. And so the decision was made. The Earth fleet began to prepare. Giant ships were loaded with supplies, medics, engineers, and soldiers. Every ship carried not just weapons, but hope. Humanity did not know who the Aurelians were, but they knew what it meant to be afraid, to be desperate, to fight for survival. When the fleet finally launched, the world watched in silence. The ships rose through the clouds and disappeared into the blackness beyond the stars. Across Earth, people whispered the same words, good luck. Bring them home. Weeks later, the human fleet arrived in Aurelian space. The first thing they saw was devastation. Entire planets burned in the distance. Wrecked ships drifted through space, their lights dimmed forever. The once bright cities of the Aurelians were silent. The human ships moved carefully through the wreckage. When they reached the surviving Aurelian colony, they found a world trembling under fear. The alien cities were delicate and beautiful, filled with glass towers and shining gardens, but everything was broken. When the humans landed, the Aurelians came out slowly, afraid. They had heard of humans only in rumors, creatures from a violent, dangerous world. A death world, they called it. It was said that humans came from a planet where storms could crush mountains, animals could kill in seconds, and nature itself tried to destroy them every day. But the humans who stepped off their ships did not look like monsters. They wore clean uniforms and calm expressions. They carried food, medicine, and repair tools. Their first act was not to fight, it was to help. Admiral Imani met the Aurelian Council inside a cracked hall made of crystal. The air was cold and dust floated in the weak sunlight. The Aurelian leaders bowed deeply, their glowing eyes filled with sadness. Why did you come? One of them asked softly. You owe us nothing. Imani smiled gently. You called for help, she said. That was enough. The Aurelians could hardly believe it. They had expected warriors, conquerors, or traders asking for payment. But the humans asked for nothing. They began rebuilding communication towers, setting up defenses, and healing the wounded. Word spread quickly. The aliens whispered in disbelief. These humans were from the most dangerous world known in the galaxy. Everything about them, strength, endurance, will, was shaped by struggle. And yet they were kind, but the peace didn't last long. From the far side of the system, sensors picked up movement. Dozens, then hundreds of Voth ships were approaching. They had found the survivors, and the strange newcomers protecting them. Admiral Imani stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UNS Valiant, and watched the radar light up with enemy signals. Her crew worked in silence. They all knew what was coming. The Aurelians sent her a warning. "You cannot win," they said. "Their fleet is too strong. Please leave while you still can." Imani looked out at the stars. "If we leave," she said, "who will stand for you?" Her words spread through the fleet like fire. The crews tightened their grips, checked their stations, and prepared for battle. Humanity had faced extinction before, on their own world, in their own wars, in the harsh struggle to reach the stars. They would face this too. The Voth fleet entered orbit, dark and enormous. Their ships gleamed like blades. The Voth commander sent a message across all channels. "Unknown species, surrender or be destroyed." Imani gave a small smile. "They always say that," she murmured. Then louder, "All ships, defensive positions. Prepare to engage." The humans moved into formation, neat, disciplined, unafraid. Their ships were heavier, slower, built for endurance rather than speed. But they had something the Voth did not: creativity. While the Voth relied on predictable tactics and sheer numbers, the humans adapted to every move. They thought like survivors, not machines. Every order from Imani was clear, focused, and calm. From the Aurelian colony below, thousands of eyes watched as the human fleet formed a shining line in the dark. No one spoke. Every breath waited for what would happen next. Imani stood in the center of her bridge, her hands folded behind her back. "They came for conquest," she said softly, mostly to herself. "We came for life." Outside, the stars flickered as the two fleets faced each other. It was quiet, too quiet. Then the first shot fired, a beam of light cutting through the dark. The battle had begun. The Aurelians far below saw flashes in the sky and felt the ground tremble. They had sent a message for help, never expecting an answer. Now, as fire streaked across the heavens, they realized something extraordinary. Their cry had reached the most unlikely heroes of all. The Deathworlders had come. And though no one could yet know how the battle would end, one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same again. The Voth fleet arrived like a dark storm spreading across the stars. Thousands of their ships moved in perfect formation, confident in their strength. They had defeated many civilizations before. To them, this battle was supposed to be easy, another quick victory to remind the galaxy that no one could resist them. But this time, something was different. This time, humans had come. The people of the Aurelian Concord stood on their observation decks, staring at the human ships with both fear and hope. The humans did not have elegant designs like other spacefaring species. Their vessels looked rugged and strong, covered in layers of armor that told stories of hard tests and dangerous lives. The ships were not beautiful, but they were powerful. And somehow they looked alive. Admiral Sarah Imani stood on the bridge of the UNS Valiant, her face calm but her eyes sharp. Around her, her crew worked quickly, checking systems, adjusting power levels, and preparing for what was coming. The room was filled with quiet determination. No one spoke of fear, though they all felt it. They had come across light years not for conquest, but to protect lives that were not their own. The Voth commander, seeing the small human fleet, laughed through the communication line. "Tiny ships from a forgotten world," he said. "You should have stayed on your planet." Admiral Imani did not answer. Instead, she gave a short nod to her communications officer. "Cut the channel," she said. "Actions speak louder than words." The order went out. The human fleet moved as one. Engines flared blue and the ships accelerated into the heart of the enemy. The first moments were chaos. The Voth fired hundreds of plasma bolts, lighting up the dark with waves of energy. But the human ships didn't fall back. They had studied how to fight smarter, not just stronger. The Valiant rolled and banked, avoiding most of the incoming fire, while smaller ships spread out to confuse enemy sensors. Then came the sound the universe would never forget, the deep, thunderous hum of human railguns. The weapons hurled metal slugs at near light speed. They cut through the Voth shields like paper. 1, 2, 3 enemy ships exploded in bright silence. The Aurelian observers could hardly believe what they were seeing. Humanity, a species from a so-called death world, was facing one of the most feared armadas in the galaxy, and pushing it back. Admiral Imani stood tall. "Target their flagship," she said quietly. "They think they're untouchable. Let's remind them that no one is." The Valiant's forward batteries opened fire. Every shot was perfectly timed, every move part of a larger pattern. The humans fought like a storm, unpredictable, fierce, alive. They took hits and kept going, smoke and sparks filling their decks, but no one stopped. Every crew member knew why they were there. Meanwhile, the Aurelians watched from their stations in awe. Ambassador Lyra, the one who had sent the SOS, covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. "They're not fighting for themselves," she whispered. "They're fighting for us." Her assistant nodded slowly. "They fight like their world made them cruel?" Lyra shook her head. "No," she said softly. "Their world made them strong." As the battle raged, the Voth commander grew frustrated. He ordered more ships into the fight, trying to crush the humans with numbers. The sky filled with fire as both sides exchanged endless streams of light and metal. Then the humans did something unexpected. The smaller ships began weaving between the enemy lines, drawing their fire and confusing their targeting systems. At the same time, the Valiant's crew activated a new kind of weapon, a gravity lance, designed by human engineers who believed every problem had a solution waiting to be built. "Fire," Imani said. A thin beam of light burst forward, bending space around it. It didn't explode like a normal weapon. It twisted the enemy's shields and tore open their engines from within. The Voth flagship shuddered and broke apart, its debris scattering across the stars. The silence that followed was heavy. The remaining Voth ships began to retreat. For the first time in their history, they ran. But the humans didn't chase. Admiral Imani simply watched the enemy fade into the distance. "Let them go," she said. "They've learned what they needed to learn." The battle was over. The Aurelian conquered sent waves of gratitude. When the human fleet returned to orbit, crowds of aliens filled the stations and observation decks, cheering in their own ways, some flashing lights, some humming soft tones, some raising their arms toward the sky. Humanity had become their unexpected savior. The humans didn't celebrate loudly. They repaired their ships, helped fix damaged Aurelian systems, and treated the injured on both sides. To them, victory wasn't about pride. It was about peace. Later, in a quiet hall aboard the Valiant, Admiral Imani met with Ambassador Lyra. The alien diplomat bowed deeply, her delicate wings trembling. "Your people have done what no one else dared," she said. "You fought not for gain, but for life itself. How can we ever thank you?" Imani smiled kindly. "You already have," she replied. "You reminded us that we're not alone out here. That's worth more than any reward." Before leaving, she gave Lyra a small data crystal. "Our communication codes," she explained. "If you ever need help again, send the signal. Humanity answers." The Aurelians watched as the human ships prepared to jump back to their own territory. The engines flared again, painting the dark with soft blue light. For a moment, the ships looked like stars themselves, bright, strong, and unyielding. As the fleet disappeared into the folds of space, Lyra turned to her aide. "They came from a death world," she said quietly, "but they brought us life." The aide nodded. "They will be remembered," he said. And remembered they were. Across the galaxy, stories spread quickly. Some called them the Children of Iron, others the Fireborn. But most came to know them by the name the Aurelians gave them, the Deathworlders. Not because they brought destruction, but because they came from the harshest place imaginable and still chose kindness. In the months that followed, strange things began to happen. Civilizations that had once feared humanity now sent messages of friendship. The Aurelians and humans began building together, ships that mixed elegance and strength, tools that could explore the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Children on distant worlds learned of Earth, that small blue planet where life fought for every breath yet never gave up. Teachers told them stories of the Valiant and the day humanity answered a call for help. Admiral Imani returned home quietly. She didn't seek fame. Her name would become legend anyway. On Earth, she looked up at the stars one night and thought about the Aurelians, their shining cities, their gratitude, their hope. It made her smile. For all the fear humans had felt when they first reached the stars, they had found something worth believing in. Not power, not conquest, but connection. Somewhere deep in the void, a new signal flickered to life, another distress call, another plea. And far away on Earth, the same listening array began to blink. humanity would hear it. Humanity would answer, because that's what they did. They were the children of a dangerous world shaped by storms, by gravity, by endless challenge. But when others cried out for help, they didn't bring destruction. They brought fire and fury, not to burn but to protect, and in that moment, the universe understood something new. The most dangerous species in the galaxy wasn't feared for its strength alone. It was respected for its heart.